We got the biggest wreck in NASCAR history, which once again brings the damaged vehicle policy into question. So we're going to talk about that again. And oh yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won. So let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, first things first, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets the win. It is the fourth of his career. Also, the first time in his career that he has gone back-to-back seasons with a win. Of course, won the Daytona 500 last year, and then this season wins at Talladega. And of course, all of those wins that he has had have come on super speedway. So he is becoming sort of this, if you want to call him a ringer, like a super speedway ringer, very reminiscent of Michael Waltrip. Speaking of Michael Waltrip, with that fourth win, it does tie him with Michael Waltrip and 16 others for a 17-way tie for 88th all-time on the NASCAR Cup Series. Those drivers, of course, include Lloyd Dane, Bob Flock, Charlie Glotzback, Eddie Gray, Bobby Hamilton, Pete Hamilton, Parnelli Jones, Herschel McGriff, Joe Nemechek, Eddie Pagan, Ken Schrader, Morgan Shepherd, Nelson Stacy, Billy Wave, Michael Waltrip, as mentioned earlier, and of course, Glenn Wood. Not only was it a big win for him, but it is a big win for JTG Daugherty, one of the smallest teams or one of the smaller teams, and if not one of the smaller teams or smallest team, it is the most successful small team, in my opinion, in NASCAR. With one car, they now have 2 wins in consecutive seasons, which is good. 3 wins overall. Of course, the previous win coming with AJ Allmendinger all the way back in 2014. But since then, things have really turned around for that organization. They put a lot more money into it, and it's a big win for them. Not only that, because they're losing possibly the Kroger sponsorship next year as it goes over to Joe Gibbs Racing. So this win right here will help them attract more sponsors and continue to be the little team that can in the Cup Series, which is always fun to watch. But although that's a big story, it is not the biggest story from this weekend because, of course, we had a wreck where 28 cars were involved. The biggest big one that has ever happened in the NASCAR Cup Series, and it happens at Talladega. And it happened right at lap 185, completely shook up the points. But the bigger takeaway, and we're going to get to the points and finish in order, good race, bad race, all that in just a minute. But the bigger thing that came out of it is, once again, the damaged vehicle policy is back up for discussion. As you saw last week, Josh Berry and Rodney Childers had some strong words, basically, for how NASCAR handled the damaged vehicle policy. And in fact, after the race from Front Stretch Motorsports here, follow them on YouTube, great channel. If you're not following them, you're missing out. But they got this reaction from Josh Berry while the cleanup was actually going on.
What did you see out there?
All I know is that all those cars parked in turn 3 better not get towed to pit road, buddy, because that'd be breaking the damaged vehicle policy. Fucking 42 cars over there doing burnouts, slinging rubber all over the safety workers trying to get going. But if you have 4 or 5 tires, you gotta get towed to pit road. You're done, right?
So you see right there, still frustrated with the damaged vehicle policy and that some of those cars got towed to pit road and were able to get on the damaged vehicle policy clock even though all 4 of their tires were flat and some of them made contact with the wall. Pretty much the exact same situation Josh Berry got DQ'd for last week, and it brought into the conversation of, is the damaged vehicle policy broken? Do we even need the damaged vehicle policy at all? I asked the question on the live stream, do you think we need to get rid of the damaged vehicle policy, or do you think we need to modify it? And overwhelmingly, most people wanted to just completely get rid of the damaged vehicle policy. And I think that is a sentiment that is sort of carried over, and it is getting heard by top NASCAR officials, as you see this from NASCAR.com, Elton Sawyer's reaction after the race.
Goes through NASCAR's decisions there on the big one involving the cars that got towed versus didn't get towed and how that all shook out.
Yeah, I think on the heels of last week at Kansas, our goal is never to put good cars out of the race. Last week, as we got looking at that, digesting it, we could tell that maybe we should have made a different call last week. So as we went into Talladega this week, we want to make sure that we erred on the side of the competitors. We didn't anticipate seeing 25 plus cars down there, some of them in the grass, high-sided, weren't sure why they couldn't continue. That's why we made the decision to tow the 2 to pit road that we did. The 9 and the 14, both of those cars met minimum speed, so we felt like that was the right call at that time. We will take a much deeper dive into this in the off season. This is year 3 with the Gen 7 car. There's a lot of really good things that's come out of that whole process. DVP has been challenging, and we'll go to work on that in the offseason.
So there you go, a glimmer of hope from Elton Sawyer. He said in the offseason they are definitely going to address it. He even went as far in that to say that they missed it last week, that Josh Berry should have been, or maybe not now last week, but whenever they missed it with Josh Berry, the Josh Berry's car should have been allowed to continue in the race after they put 4 tires on. So I don't know that that necessarily helps the 4 car at all, points-wise or anything like that, but they did at least acknowledge that they missed it with the 4 car and that going forward that it does need to be addressed. I've said very often that the best way to fix this is just have a NASCAR official look at the car. There needs to be no timer because the timer just adds a layer of safety, or it takes away a layer of safety, I should say, because you got these guys scrambling and doing these repairs in a quick manner, so they might not be doing it as safely as they can. Also, because they're trying to do it in a timed format, pieces of the car could fly off. So I think the best way to do it is to have a NASCAR official look at the car and be like, give them the thumbs up, no timer on it. Like, it's either good to go back out or it's not good to go back out. And you got one attempt. You go back out there, you can either make speed or you can't. And also, if a piece of your car flies off when you go back out there, you're automatically done for the rest of the race. There doesn't need to be a timer on it. I think that's the best route of going about it. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. Good race, obviously, for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting the win there. Brad Keselowski, oh so close. That 3-way photo finish at the line with William Byron, disproving the green car theory as a green car being bad luck, as 3 cars were within a foot or two of each other for the win there. I know William Byron's car is like greenish yellow, so I'm going with it, greenish yellow. But your disagreements have been heard on whether or not the Raptor car is green or yellow. It's greenish yellow. Kyle Larson finishing 4th. Huge day for him. Big time for him, especially at a plate track where he normally doesn't finish. And a big day also for the 5th man here, Eric Jones. Just the way their season has gone over there at Legacy, great finish for them. 6th through 10, Christopher Bell, continuing to do what Christopher Bell does. Nobody talks about him, but he just continues to get great finishes. Justin Haley evens up the score. He finishes in front of Corey LaJoie this weekend, so it is 1-1 on the Spire Rick Ware Racing trade as it stands right now. Austin Dillon with the 8th place finish here for RCR. Good run for him. Bubba Wallace in 9th place continues to show that he is one of the best plate racers out there. And Denny Hamlin, probably the biggest benefactor of that 28-car pileup, finishes 10th and really helps him in the playoff points. Speaking of which, NASCAR.com on their Instagram put up this thing right here that showed where the point standings were on lap 185 and where the point standings stood after lap 185. And it is just very interesting right here. As you see, Cindric went from the leader to now Cindric being minus 29. So that one crash affected everything very significantly. Look at Denny Hamlin here, who I was talking about, though. He was sitting at minus 17. Then after that crash, he is now plus 30. But here you go. Here are your top 8. Officially, William Byron, after that race, is your leader, and he has locked himself in just on points alone. At plus 57 sits Christopher Bell. He's pretty safe unless he finishes dead last or something crazy happens. Same deal with Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin has a healthy lead here, just has to have a decent race. Same thing with Alex Bowman at plus 26 and Ryan Blaney at plus 25, despite the Ryan Blaney wreck, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. Tyler Reddick, despite not having a great playoff so far, does sit at plus 14, so he is to the good right now. And Chase Elliott at plus 13. Outside looking in is going to be Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric, minus 13, minus 20, minus 29, and 32, respectively. And as far as Good Race had to say, let's take a look at what Milton had to say on Twitter/X. Kyle Larson was his 5th best driver. I had him as my best driver, but he did crack Milton's top 5, where he started 12th, finished 4th. Larson was consistently in the mix, showing the speed he has always displayed on Super Speedway, survived the big one, and played a critical role in the race for the win. Verdict, a great result that finally matched the speed he showed. And I agree with that. And for his absolute worst race, Milton had Daniel Suarez, giving him a ranking of 2.0 for the race. Started in the rear, finished 26th. Suarez's car had an unapproved adjustment that served a penalty on lap 1. He made a stupid error trying to clear BJ McLeod, wrecking himself. Verdict, bad qualifying lap. 13 mistake counts heavily against Suarez. And as far as bad race goes, that's exactly where I want to start as well. Daniel Suarez and the 99 team started behind the 8 ball and never were able to recover after that pit road penalty. First off, you can't have those type of penalties when you're in the playoffs, and his teammate Ross Chastain was up there battling for the lead once again. So whatever is going on over there at Trackhouse, they need to flip it, because the 99 car is the one in the playoffs, and that's the car that should be, you would imagine, would be faster right now. I don't understand the disparity in the gap, and I also don't understand the gaffes from the pit crew there, where you put the 99 from the start of the race behind the 8 ball for making an unapproved adjustment on the race car, where you knew you were going to have to serve that drive-through penalty. Just almost an unexcusable mistake there for a playoff team. Also, got to say, bad race for Austin Cindric. Nothing he did sort of out of his control, other than he might have got out front just a little too far, and that push coming from the 22 and the 6 car a little bit too much for him to handle. But he gets wrecked out of the race once again, where he would have been transferring in as he was the leader at that moment in the race. He goes from transferring in to being basically in a win to get in situation with Chase Briscoe. And here are your manufacturer standings. Chevrolet at 1134, Ford at 1087, and Toyota at 1085. Ford maintaining a 2-point lead over Toyota, and a 47-point lead for Chevrolet over Ford as it stands right now, with 5 races to go in the season. All right, that's about going to do it for me here. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comments section. If it's the first time to the channel, would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll just keep making these things. If you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you all as well. And if you want to visit the merch store, the link is in the description. If you buy a hat, you get a t-shirt for free. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.